Welcome to the Heal Your Hunger Show, where we get to the heart of why you overeat and how to stop. If you struggle with food and weight like I did, welcome home. Welcome everybody to the Heal Your Hunger Show. So happy to have you here. It is a great day to be alive, and you're going to love my guest today. I can't wait. And we are recording this live in the Secret Sauce group. So if you haven't joined the group yet, definitely make sure to do that. You go to Facebook and type in the Secret Sauce to End Emotional Eating. It's where we hang out. That's where I do my shows. So you can comment actually real time from the show that we're recording, and we get to know you that way. So don't be a stranger. Join us in the Secret Sauce group. Also, if you're here at the Heal Your Hunger Show for the first time, welcome. So glad you're here. This is where we talk about real stuff, not calories and, ketones and measuring and, fat grams and, oh my gosh, all that stuff that you probably know a lot about by now. I mean, I would say most people who listen to the Heal Your Hunger Show could probably write a book on nutrition, because we've been researching it for so long, listening to so many podcasts, reading so many books, taking so many courses, right? But what's it gotten you? I mean, knowledge is good as far as it goes, but it definitely doesn't go far enough. So we feed your deeper hunger here by telling you the truth about what's underlying our obsession with food and weight. So that's really what's going on here, is we're talking about the real issues, and today is no exception. We won't talk about food, but we'll talk about what drives us to eat, and that's our hunger, our hunger for positivity, our hunger for connection, our hunger for God. So I'm excited about today's show. I'm really glad you're here at the Heal Your Hunger Show. If you enjoy the show, please share it with your friends. Please let them know there's a non-diet approach to losing weight that doesn't involve crazy diets or impossible exercise programs. Let's go deeper. Let's lose weight from the inside out. That's what Heal Your Hunger is about. Okay, on with the show. So Darrell Fusaro is an artist and decorated U.S. Coast Guard veteran, and he's the co-host of the podcast Funniest Thing with Darrell and Ed. He's also the author of the book What If Godzilla Just Wanted a Hug, which I love. And he also is a personal friend, and he inspires me. I love it when Darrell speaks. I love hearing him. I love talking to him and just hearing what's going on in that very, very bright mind of his. So welcome, Darrell. Glad you're here.
Wow, what an introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, well, I'm super happy to have you here and at the Heal Your Hunger Show. And, there's so many things that I feel like we align with, and the most important thing is just the life of possibility and positivity, I just feel like I'm a very positive person, and people say that about me. And I definitely say that about you. And I would say you're even much more positive than me. So you're just always, I know it may not always come easy, but you're doing a great job of keeping your mind conditioned towards the positive. And that's really what I want to, work on and talk about today, is saying yes to life. So, you're the guy.
Well, thank you. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because ironically, I have a younger brother, and we grew up in very seemingly negative circumstances, and we were both on our own by the time I was 19. And thank goodness that, for being introduced to the principles that I know you probably and most likely share with everyone who's listening and the people you work with, because it revolutionized and saved both our lives. These ideas that are basically thousands and thousands of years old. And once we understand that these principles that exist and are as real as the law of gravity, when we cooperate with them, when I'm willing in my mind to cooperate with these principles, things seem to go a lot better. However, why I brought up my brother, he has a successful life, and he has been working for many years, and of all things, he's a federal agent. So he ends up in a lot of scary predicaments. And not too long ago, the senior officer pulled Eric aside and said, "How do you do it?" My brother goes, "What?" He goes, "How come you're always so happy?" And my brother says to him, "What, are you kidding me? It takes a lot of work to be this happy." But you know what? It's work that's well worth it. It is work that's well worth it. And that's what my brother actually intended to get across. And mentioning the fact that we're always not 100%, nobody's 100%. However, the longer you live where I have to treat my mind and my thoughts, myself, like a loving and encouraging grandma. When I go, "No, Darrell, come on. Let's just read this inspirational book. Let's just take this time to meditate. No. And everything's going to be better." The more you get in the habit of doing that, and the more you enjoy the rewards of feeling this way, and not only that, but seeing how your circumstances will correspond favorably to the inside, your consciousness, which is your thoughts and feelings, that when I do feel bad at all because of my thinking, which is it's always just between the ears that causes this psychic pain. And then of course, I think I want to blame it on something out there, maybe even you some days, but I know now to keep the mouth shut. And the psychic pain that I feel when I start moving into fear, doubt, worry, or I feel malice starting to grow within me towards somebody, now, even just a moment of it, I start to feel everything constrict. And it does not feel good. And there's a great quote by, there's two things this is from Dr. Raymond Charles Barker. And he said that health is a yes system and disease is a no system. And it's ironic because many, many years ago, the Harvard Medical School came to the conclusion that there really is only one cause of all disease, and that is congestion. And there's one cure, and that's circulation. And this is true. When my mind is going, no, it's mental congestion. It's a spiritual congestion.
Yeah.
And that's what starts to, but as soon as I'm willing to I can't believe ladies and gentlemen, listen, folks, this title just popped into our heads like 2 seconds before we started. But it's crazy how this is going. So, but as soon as I'm willing to go, yes, I'm going to, instead of resisting this or fighting whatever the situation, I'm just going to accept it and withdraw into peace and trust in God's care. And that allows my mind to settle. And that's when the inspired ideas or even coincidence takes over and you bump into the right person, or all of a sudden the drain that you thought is going to take a severe new sewer line all of a sudden goes whoosh. Yeah. All sorts of silly things can go on in my head, and it's life or death. You're seeing a reasonably nice person right now, ladies and gentlemen, because I did my morning routine. I've been up for a couple hours. I've had my coffee, so, but the thing is, this stuff works, and it always works, whether we believe it or not, and whether we're consciously minding our thinking or not. So, the good news is when we're thinking in agreement with the positive stream of the universe, which is always moving in a positive direction, the more our lives, the more we experience good health, happiness, love, success, prosperity, and even money. It's not a dirty word, although for a long time, and anytime I start going, no, or screw that person, or I'm cutting myself off, and now, like, as time goes on, you'll be able to really be hyper aware of it. A quick example, when I'm on the freeway, I live in Los Angeles, and, not everyone drives the way I would like them to. And instead of getting really upset when, like, if I'm on the phone talking to someone, the old, because we're on our cell phones too, it comes through the system in the car. One of my friends just heard me say this the other day and they started laughing because now when someone does something, even like, whoa, cutting me off, I go, well, that was a fascinating choice. And it keeps me from getting, and the person on the other said, wow, I said, yeah, it keeps me from, because once one thought of, I opened the door to, more to follow,
Yeah. So true. I really love that. And I totally amen to everything. And if you're watching in the Secret Sauce group, please amen us in the comments. So I want to talk to you about something because I've noticed that this has become a real thing for me, and that's the power of words. And I just don't like negative words spoken. I feel like they have a vibration and they are like, they can set off, that negative spiral to the rabbit hole. And so I just feel like even the words that we choose are so important. Like I was like 3 months ago, it's actually caused a fight between me and my friend as we were driving back from Palm Springs. We just have a really lovely weekend together, girlfriend of mine. And I was driving not so slow, I'll admit, but we were on the freeway and then a few times she's like, oh gosh, like, don't get us killed, and like a few times she just made this offhanded, oh, don't want to get killed here, which, I mean, I should have just tapped in and just thought maybe she's scared. Like maybe this is her way of saying she's scared and she's not expressing it. I mean, I really wasn't driving that fast, but the point is I shuddered at the idea of being in a car on the freeway and her uttering the words about getting killed. Like, I just feel like that in of itself carries some weight or it carries some vibration. So can you like sort of want to riff on that a little bit?
Yes, I have very good news. The good news is this. There's actually a Bible quote, by your word, you will be, condemned, or by your word, you will be blessed. And that's paraphrasing. That's my version of it.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there's people more adept at Bible verses than I. And listen, ladies, or men out there listening, I used to have a real aversion to Bible verses. I'd see them. I've been reading a publication called The Daily Word since 1986. And in the beginning, yeah, thank you. Yes. And in the beginning,
which both, I'm just going to take a little squirrel here. Both Darrell and I have had our stories printed in the front of the Daily Word, and yes. Darrell twice. I've only been there once.
Yes. Couple different
great
stories.
Magazine.
Yes. And it really is a very positive, non-denominational, uplifting thing to read in the morning,
Totally.
And the best place to get started. I mean, I've learned success begins when you say kind things to yourself, and a good time to start is in the morning, and reading these simple little spiritual or meditation books you come across are really helpful in getting my mind in agreement with what's real. But what I want to say, the good news is, and it's not just spiritual. I mean, it is spiritual. It runs along with, these spiritual principles, like the word having power is as real as, like we said, like the law of gravity. And now science is catching up to it, meaning that every thought has a vibration. And just like I mentioned earlier, when we think negative thoughts, chemicals go through the body because every negative thought has its root in fear, I believe. And that's why the body starts to contract, because it's getting ready to, save itself or find a place to hide. And every positive thought has a releasing effect, has a healing chemicals through our body. And that's why when one negative word kicks in and that those chemicals are released, well, then those thought chemicals now bring more of those thoughts. And unless I stop it quickly and try to, change the direction of my thinking, it could snowball. But here's the thing. They measured in a laboratory the vibration, the power, how each thought has a vibration that doesn't just do this physical to the body, but actually moves beyond and they put the electrodes on. And what they discovered is positive thoughts and positive imagery and positive words have a much higher frequency, a much more substantially more powerful than negative. Because when I first started learning about this stuff, and it's a real thing, because every word that goes out, especially if it has feeling attached to it,
Amen.
Because feeling gets the demonstration. And when our feelings are good, great, keep moving with that, because it means you're moving in towards your heart's desire, toward God's will, if you like. But when we're thinking negative, that's where I got to do something about it. And the good news is that the feelings that go along with negative, although they do have the power, they're not as powerful as the positive. So I used to think, oh my God, I'm thinking negative. Now what's going to happen? Something terrible is going to, I got it. No, there's a time delay too, which is nice. I mean, I know God says now, and now is the time. Yeah. If you're thinking positively, anything is possible in an instant.
Right.
But the good news is, because negative thoughts have such a weaker, or negative words have such a weaker vibration, the good news is there's a much more significant time delay to start getting our thoughts going in the positive direction. Mm-hmm. So although, I don't like thinking negative thoughts, I don't like hearing negative things, the news is really a great place if you want to get making up nightmares in your head.
Yeah.
So I kind of avoid that. Everything I need to hear, I hear one way or another,
Yeah.
So
thank God for the internet. We can make good choices every day.
Yes, you could pick and choose. And most everything is on demand now, so you don't have to sit through commercials even. Yeah. So yes. So the good news is words have power. Even better news is your positive words and feelings have significantly more power to bring good in your life than your negative thoughts and words have to bring bad into your life.
Okay. That's good. That's very helpful. Thank you. I might just relax a little, because I drove her crazy, and I drive other friends crazy with don't say that word. So, anyway, I appreciate that. Let's go back to, you mentioned a morning routine, and I beat this drum a lot, because it's changed my life.
Yes.
Having a morning meditation and prayer routine.
Yes.
So let's hear about yours.
Okay. This is actually a wonderful story, how I was introduced to doing this. I was only 23 at the time, and I was in the United States military. I joined the Coast Guard. At that time of my life, like I said, me and my brother were on our own, and I was kind of lost in space. And I really thought that I lacked discipline. That was the problem. Now, mind you, I got accepted to art school, but I was so overwhelmed, the stress I would feel of having to produce something, every time I looked at the blank canvas in class, I was like, that was more stressful to me than me risking my life by joining the military and being ordered around. This is how insane I was thinking at the time. But I was really looking for what we have discovered and what your listeners have discovered, by tapping into you. And I'm sure we don't meet each other by mistake. I mean, I really believe we meet everybody we're supposed to meet. And at that time, I thought I just needed discipline, but I had the wrong attitude of discipline. I mean, the wrong idea of what that word meant. I really thought it meant surrounding myself with a real tight impending punishment. So if I went one way or the other, this way I'd be forced to be successful, good and successful. But that doesn't work.
Right.
And the reason it doesn't work, and I found this out later too, that's not even discipline. Discipline, I mean, I can't believe how vague I was, because the root of discipline is disciple. And discipline, the word discipline, the origin of the word simply means to follow the loving way.
God, isn't that beautiful?
I know. It's not about, I used to think discipline too meant whipping myself in the morning,
Oh yeah, and for emotional eaters, discipline just sends shudders through our
Oh,
bodies.
no, it simply means choose the loving way.
Mm,
And now to me, it means like we're talking about our thoughts. It means when these thoughts come with it, it means restraint and redirect to love. Restraint, like don't act on that. Don't continue to go down those. But
yeah.
okay. So now we got out of the way. I'm in the military and nothing's going well because, I joined for the wrong reason. And I'm in a lot of trouble of my own making. And I was standing on an army base. I was in the Coast Guard, by the way. So I don't want to make any misconceptions because I ended up in a lot of different places in the military. But I was in the Coast Guard. So I'm enlisted in the Coast Guard. I'm on an army base and I run into a guy and I'm telling him how, of my problems. I got this and that. And oh my goodness, I don't know how to do this. And he said, well, why don't you put that in basically, I don't know how I'm going to get out of this one. I was overwhelmed. And he said, well, why don't do you turn that over in your morning routine? And I go, what's a morning routine? And I'm like, oh no. So he proceeds to tell me that he says, listen, man, and hearing this from a man's man on a military base at that time for me was just who was the angel I needed to hear it from. If I heard it from a kind woman or a priest, or anybody else, I don't think it would. Like, this is the thing. The perfect things show up right when we need them, when we're ready to go, oh, I give up. Because the moment we ask for help, the healing begins. So he shows up and he goes, listen, he goes, life isn't about jumping out of bed and racing into your miserable day. And then he said this. He said, when was the last time? He goes, I timed it just for you because we knew each other. He had seen me around. And he goes, it only takes 7 minutes. And he said, when was the last time you woke up just 7 minutes earlier to be kind and loving to Darrell? And, all my defenses were up, but I did not have a defense against kindness. This man's and I just said, never, Mike. And he said, listen, you do this morning routine for just 30 days, even if you don't believe in it. And I'll explain what the routine is in a minute. Even if you don't believe it's going to work. And I guarantee you this. By the time 30 days is up, you're going to be so amazed at how much your life has transformed for the better. You're not going to want to stop doing it. And then he said, but if you don't have just 7 minutes, if you can't just wake up 7 minutes early to be kind and loving to Darrell, there's nothing anyone can do to help you. And he shared with me 3 simple prayers, generic prayers we all heard, that didn't set off any alarms. They weren't overly religious. And then he suggested, the daily word. He also suggested at that time, which I still read from, by the way, his little 7-minute routine is still the skeleton for what I do each morning. It has grown, since then, but it's never shrunken. And listen, folks, I was doing this. I served as a result of doing the routine, I had a very successful career in the military after that. And I served for 4 years after learning the routine. And if I was able to do it with crazy shifts, you got to go now and all this other stuff. And I never missed it. And it made for the most incredible experiences in the military that I don't think people have even had until now. You can do it too. There's no excuse not to do it, except not being kind and loving to yourself. So he gave me, like I mentioned, 3 prayers. One of them was the St. Francis. One of them is the Serenity Prayer. It's a generic prayer. It's very popular in 12-step groups. God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. That means when something pops up that's out of my schedule, or unexpected, or even something scary, like a plumbing issue somewhere at the house, or instead of like freaking out, like, it's the end of the world. Just go, okay, now what? And that comes, and then, the power, okay, God, grant me the strength to accept the things I can't change when those things happen. I got to, okay, come into agreement with them. Agree with thine adversary is the Bible quote. And this doesn't mean you're going to get punched or stabbed or shot. This means just acceptance. God, grant me the strength to accept the things I cannot change. The courage to change the things I can. Remember what I said about this one, restraint and redirect. God, I tell myself often when things pop up unexpected that seem like, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. I remind myself, there's a simple solution to every problem. I wonder what wonderful thing's going to come of this. I mean, you really have to be your own best friend. Talk yourself off the cliff, and the wisdom to know the difference. Because some things that crop up are a simple thing that just need a simple adjustment. My thing most of the time is I found out I was hypoglycemic, and it made perfect sense because the most negative thing my friends and wife will say about me is I become extremely negative and grumbly when I'm hungry. I have to maintain a nice, like every 2 hours, eat a small little something. So, to maintain. And I also don't argue with my wife or my friends at all. When they go, when was the last time you ate? Are you hungry? I just go, yep, I'm hungry. And I'll eat. I don't go, I'm not hungry. This is for real. Cause I know now, like I said, the longer you do this, the more you understand yourself. So he included the daily word. He even subscribed it for me and had it sent to my address. And another book called Around the Year with Emmett Fox.
Amen.
And what happened was what he predicted. And the thing was, I wanted to believe this would work because doing a silly little morning routine with the grand promise he gave me that it would transform my life seems so much easier than me trying to get, these guys to say the same thing and make sure of this. And how am I ever going to get out of that? It was just like, okay. And within 15 days, my whole attitude changed. I was so happy for no reason at all. I know right where I was standing, walking to base in my uniform. And I thought, if I just keep doing this, my life's going to get better. And I still had trouble looming over me. And then 30 days came and remarkable things happened, remarkable things. So I still do it now. I wake up before my wife, mainly 2 reasons. One, mainly because I don't like being disturbed when I do it. But most importantly, so by the time she wakes up, she meets a reasonably nice version of me instead of the grumbler.
Uh-huh.
Because I wake up a grumbler. I don't know why. I watch this. Why? And I got to be the kind and loving grandma. Okay, come on. We're going to do your routine. You're going to feel better. Like even this morning. And you know what? Magically, I did my morning routine. I just finished my morning routine and I got your text.
Oh, sweet.
And I was like, this is perfect. This is perfect. And I said, yes, instead of going, well, I might have things to do this afternoon. I just said, no, I have nothing vital. I could do it this afternoon or I could do it, Monday, whenever I said. And you said, okay, today. And I was like, it's funny how often you say yes to that. And I just said, all right, perfect. And now I'm so happy that it worked out this way.
I am happy too, but you don't know, when you told me you could do it today, I'm like, there's always a little bit of like, oh, today, oh my gosh, okay. And then I thought about it. I'm like, well, why not today? So
that's a good point because, we always get the good things we ask for and without realizing it, like, because in the morning when we're doing our routine, we're asking for good. We're asking for unexpected, big, happy surprises.
Yeah.
And isn't it ironic how sometimes when these unexpected, big, happy surprises drop in our lap, then we're a little hesitant.
Yeah.
You mean now?
Like,
You mean now?
I didn't mean that soon.
And it's like, but I've learned to just go, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Unless,
Yes.
Unless there was something else, but
Of
I would have
course.
told you in
Yeah.
the text.
That was cute. So I'm glad you said yes. I'm glad I said yes too. So great. Well, thanks for sharing that about your morning routine. Are you a meditator?
Yes, I do. And I also want to let people off the hook about meditation because I had a lot of different ideas about it that just kind of prolonged the benefits of it. And I think even you said something that was very positive the other night. There's no wrong way to meditate. Trying to meditate is meditating, because in the process of trying to meditate without realizing it, there's something inside you that's saying, I want to plug in to this higher self, whether you call, whatever you call it, you could call it the universe, God, whatever your religion, it's this natural desire. I want to try to meditate. Okay, well, that's saying, good. The willingness causes the connection. Just like I said, as soon as we ask for help, the healing begins. And Emmett Fox gives a great analogy of meditation. Can I share it? Because it helped me in the beginning, and it continues to help me. And he shares it, and his example is way better than anything I could come up with, and nice and concise. So he says a lot of people have the misconception about meditation. They think, which I used to think, it means no thinking, right, or stopping my thinking.
Right.
And every person who really meditates will tell you, thankfully, that's not the case. All we're trying to do during meditation is not get carried away with distressing and discordant thoughts and be able to look at our thoughts objectively, and also allow our thoughts or encourage our thoughts to flow along in a positive direction, because that creates peace. And so he said, meditation can be summed up very simply. A man goes to work. He lives in Connecticut, and he's got to take the train to New York City. He gets up. He hears all the news of the day. He's thinking about this client, that client, his kid, his school might be having a little trouble, might not. And he's got all these ideas like most of us have, concerns and worries and doubts, and how am I going to manage this, and what's going to happen there? Am I going to make it to work on time? All that stuff. He's at the train station. He gets on the train, and he has his newspaper with him, and he sits down and he opens up the newspaper to the sports section. And he starts reading about his favorite team. And he starts reading about his favorite players. And he starts getting excited about how things are going. He starts fantasizing about his team doing well. Meanwhile, without realizing it, he's actually meditating. He's meditating using baseball. But what's happened is he's released all those negative thoughts, and all the stress is starting to dissipate. And now his mind and body is getting connected with his source. And all the while, he's simply reading about what he loves, baseball. Now, of course, it's much more advantageous to be thinking about thoughts like, with God, everything's possible. And when negative thoughts come in my mind when I meditate, because they're like children, you can't just say, no, because then they go, what do you mean, no? They try to dig in harder. So what I do, because most negative thoughts are my subconscious fears, it's actually my subconscious or ego. It's really just trying to look out for my best interests.
Right.
But I have to know how to respond to it. So it goes, well, what about this? And so when I'm meditating, I just say, thank you for bringing that my attention. God will take care of that for us. And it goes, oh, okay. And then I feel peace. And then another one goes. And pretty soon, all I'm becoming consumed with in my thought, my body is, I have nothing to worry about. God is on it. God is on it. and it's that simple. Also, if you can't sit and do that in your mind, that's why these spiritual books are good, because just reading these spiritual books or, meditative books or whatever books you read to get that, positive, Louise, hey, there's so many authors, Wayne Dyer, Deepak Chopra, they're everywhere, right?
Yeah.
So whatever the one is, just know that by reading that, as your thoughts start agreeing with that, now that's much more loftier than just baseball. Not that baseball isn't lofty, but these start pulling your mind into the infinite, the possibility, the positive stream of life, and you'll feel anxiety diminish. It really is a simple thing. The hardest part is the willingness to just start. But once you start, like it's something I do every day now. And I know you do too. You shared that the other night. Because you come to the feeling, it doesn't mean I always go, oh, can't wait to meditate. It's always like, kind and loving grandma, let's meditate. Really? Like, even though I know it works.
Yeah.
But once you start, right? Then afterwards, like, oh my God. Thank God I meditated.
Felt so good.
What was I worried about earlier? Like things that were so important. Like, what was that? Like you can't even.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
It is incredible. It's so good. So I love it. It's really conditioning the mind. And then the neat thing is because we do it regularly and our bodies and minds get used to it. Then when we have those constrictions, like you talked about earlier, they're so dissonant from the way we're usually vibrating, that we're like, whoa, I don't want to think like that. I don't want to spend a minute in those kinds of dark places. And then you pop right out of it.
Yeah. It makes it easier and easier and easier to enjoy more health, prosperity, love, and then be able to accept even good things when they fall in your lap and not go, now?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. It's easier to say yes, which is the topic today, saying yes to life. So speaking of which, before we wrap up, I want you to talk about the Yes March, because I saw that in one of your videos and it cracks me up.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So years ago, one day I was feeling not the best. And even after doing a morning routine, this is the thing, sometimes, you got to be persistent and go, well, that's a lot of work. Well, yeah, but what's the alternative? Either I'm going to be persistent and try to get my mind and my body and my thoughts feeling better, or I'm going to continue feeling worse. And I don't want to feel worse anymore, Mm-hmm. So I did my routine. I still felt like sour. There was nothing particularly terrible going on in my life. It wasn't like, I had a migraine or anything, it was just that malaise, which actually is a good sign. It actually means that it's another growth spur. It means the subconscious now is getting rid of some goblins that have been buried. And anything, when we have these down days, I try to look at them a lot more positively instead of going down with them, because I really believe, things in the subconscious, you don't just keep packing them down. When they come through, they got to come up through the subconscious and through the conscious mind. So we're going to have a down day. So it's actually a sign of healing.
Yeah, kind of detoxing.
Yes, it's exactly. It really is detoxing. So I was like, well, nothing's working. I'm going to go for a walk. And I started walking, and all of a sudden I go, the idea of yes, because I knew about, yes, health is a yes system. And I started saying, so every time my left foot hit the ground, I would say yes in my mind. Yes, yes, yes. And I use the left foot because I do art. And a lot of times, if you're an artist or musician, I don't know if you ever heard this before, but it really is helpful. If you're not left-handed, and even if you are, I'm a righty. But what happens is the reason we start feeling like we're uncreative and stuff is because the reasoning mind, the left side of our brain, is starting to work so much that the right side's kind of taking a break. So just squeezing your left hand helps if you're going to, like, say you're struggling with writing a little article, squeezing the left hand or saying yes every time your left foot, when it hits the ground, starts to wake up the right side of the brain. And
I love that.
oh, you want to try something that really you'll feel the tingle? Try writing your name. And you could do this if you are left-handed, just use your right hand, because writing with the opposite has to use the creative side of the brain. Okay. But if you're a righty, try writing your name. Even if you do, like, try writing it in the air, you will feel the tingle in the other side. Like, you'll feel like it start to tingle if you're really, because you're waking it up. So I knew this amount. So I'm going, yeah. So that made the yes thing come. I'll do it with my left foot. I go, yes. Yeah. I swear to God, I don't even know if it was a minute, 2 minutes. All of a sudden, everything started to change, everything. And I'm like, this is incredible. So I started doing it regularly. I start doing it now, even if I'm about to do something positive, like joining you for this. It doesn't have to be when you're miserable. So I shared it with a friend of mine he was a former Marine. We knew each other both. We were both in the same military rehabilitation center in 1986 at Pearl Harbor. And we've been lifelong friends. It changed our life. We learned all about this stuff in that place. They were teaching meditation, A Course in Miracles. This is back in the military. I mean, everything was magical then. Once you ask for help, the healing begins. So I said, hey, Jeff, I do this. And I made a little card, so it's all on a little card. So it's easy to share with somebody. And it shares the benefits of it on the little card as well. So I said, here. And he starts doing it. He goes, man, he calls me like a month later. He goes, I got to tell you, that thing is so beneficial. I've been prescribing it to my clients, because he's a professional therapist. And he goes, and people are really benefiting. So this is something you could do at any time. You could be even in a grocery store. We're going, these people are rude here. Just go, yes, yes, yes. And I'm telling you, it will change, because remember what you said earlier, words have power, and it's scientific. Health is a yes system. Optimism is a yes consciousness. Pessimism is a no consciousness. I've never met a happy pessimist.
Right.
And nobody creating new things is a pessimist. Pessimism is, I'm staying right here.
Right. Nothing's moving.
Nothing's moving.
In fact, things are getting a little brittle.
Yes. So say yes.
Yes, I love it. That, ladies and gentlemen, is the yes march. So thank you for sharing that, Darrell. So this being the Heal Your Hunger show, I want to end with one last question for you. And that is, what is your deepest hunger?
Well, my deepest hunger is actually allowing myself to express myself creatively, especially. And I learned this because it's something that I resist the most, but when I do it, it brings me the most. It even, heals my body. I have a condition that I was exposed to something or other in the military, and it creates severe pain every now and then. It's treated. It's being, it's treated. So I'm fine most of the time. But when I have a flare up, drawing even seems to heal that, drawing, painting. And this takes the same sort of encouragement within to do it, to the point where now what I try to do, and I shared why it seems like I get such a late start in the morning, is because I do my morning routine. Now that has nothing to do with drawing, but it makes me feel good. But drawing really makes me feel good. But it's very risky, because is it going to come out right? And then you get it so far in your drawing, everything's good. And now I want to put an extra thing here. I want to add the hand, but That might screw it. No, go for it. Like you got to I know this may sound silly to some people.
No, to this audience, it does not sound silly. This goes on 24/7 for us.
Okay. But these encouraging myself with these little risks. And when you do, and the line goes perfect, I go, oh my God. And I feel so good. I feel so relieved, and I'm just grateful that, and this is how I've discovered the thing that I seem to be resisting doing the most. I mean, healthy thing, of course, whether it's dancing, some people it's singing. In my case, I know it's drawing because I'll sing. I'm less afraid to sing. I'm less afraid to join you on the show. Like these things I do gladly because it's fun. But drawing in front of, or drawing for myself, or then when I do it, I'll tell you, that is God. The thing it's a way of using a negative as a positive. Our resistance, the thing we resist doing the most that's positive, is really our deepest self saying, go that way, go that way, So I'm just grateful I've discovered that is this. Isn't it funny? We started off with the story of me being terrified to face the canvas in art school. Yeah. So there you have it. It's all here.
Beautiful. Thank you. Great stories, Darrell. You're a really good storyteller. So thanks for the inspiration. I don't usually go this long on my shows, by the way. Like I can't, when I listen to podcasts, I want them to be too long. And like, people probably feel the same way about mine, but I could listen to you for a whole nother hour. So,
thank you.
I'm sure my listeners could as well. So thanks so much. It's great to have you. Will you tell people your website? There's cool stuff on your website, your drawings, you've created some cool little products that people can purchase from your drawings that are inspirational, motivational.
Yes. Everything you could find about me. And this is easy to remember. My website is thiswillmakeyouhappy.com. Thiswillmakeyouhappy.com.
I love it. Very apropos. So thank you so much. And thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you on the next show.
If you enjoyed this podcast and want to get free support, insider health info, exclusive invites to events, and more, visit healyourhunger.com.